Thank you, everyone. Wow. This is quite the evening. Thank you, Anne. Thank you for your tremendous leadership. Ed, Jamie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. What a wonderful introduction. And thank you for the welcome. I can't tell you how much it means to me. It's good to be here again. A little bit nostalgic tonight. This is my last time as I will join you as governor of this great state of Washington. But I have always appreciated the tremendous support of Louise and the greater Seattle Business Association. To all of you, thank you for 7, soon to be 8 years that you have allowed me to serve as governor of the great state of Washington. Thank you. And to all those who will be honored tonight, congratulations to each of you. Each of you, in your own way, have made the lives of Washingtonians better. Now, I've been thinking about what should I talk with you about tonight. Ed and I could talk about the budget. We could talk about education reform. We could talk about the legislation to regulate animal massage practitioners, or we could talk about what should be the official state bird. Oh wait, we could talk about that thing that happened on Monday in Olympia. Something about a whole lot of Washingtonians suddenly finding themselves on the other side of the rainbow, said Ed Murray. Something about Washington State making history, not just in our state, but in the nation. Something about the civil rights issue of my daughter's generation. Something about marriage equality for Washington State's gay and lesbian citizens. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the legislature said yes. I said yes. Now if same-sex couples choose to, they will be able to say yes. Yes to a marriage proposal and yes to marriage vows in front of their family and friends. We're now the 7th state in the country to allow same-sex couples to marry. We got there because of you. I'm a little disappointed. We should have been number 1. But we are where we are today because of you, because of your courage to speak out, because of your patience and your willingness to educate, to bring legislators along, and to bring our entire state along. Through passage of laws like Ed and Jamie and Ann just mentioned, the passage of our anti-discrimination bill, years in the making. Laws expanding the rights of domestic partnership, and then we were first in the nation in '09 when the people of the state of Washington stood up for domestic partnership. Make no mistake about it. We got there because we have, and we are blessed and fortunate to say, we have legislative leaders who are smart and who are patient, who knew when to call the question, who knew that the time was now, who knew that it was a journey for many, who used their heads, their hearts, and their passions. Ladies and gentlemen, the heroes, in my opinion, Senator Ed Murray and Representative Jamie Peterson. Thank you. Like to point out a few more if I could. I want to say a big thanks to Speaker Frank Chop and to Majority Leader Elisa Brown. To Representatives Lori Jenkins and Jim Moeller and Marco Leas and Dave Upthegrove, thanks to them. And a thanks to all the legislators who voted for what was right for what was just, for what was fair. They took a risk, but in the end, they proudly stood and said yes to what was right for Washington State. Thanks to all of them. And tonight, I have confessed already. Catholic that I am, I'll do it again. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to all of you. You helped me. I went through my own personal journey. I had to do it with my head, with my heart, and with my faith. I finally, and it took me a while, I'm a slow learner, I saw clearly that while churches have a First Amendment right of freedom of religion, the state absolutely cannot be in the business of discriminating against its citizens. So that was my head. But, you know, I have a fundamental belief in equality. Equality for the majority and equality for the minority. And I love my fellow human beings for who they are. That is my faith, and I stand by my faith for what it believes and what it should stand for as I stand before you today. And I saw our gay and lesbian children. I saw moms and dads, brothers and sisters, my dear friends and yours. I saw my daughters representing a generation that sees this as the civil rights movement of their generation, and there is my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, there are thousands. There are thousands of people around our state who have taken their own personal journeys, and you have been patient, and you have been supportive. People like Republican Representative Maureen Walsh of Walla Walla. I love the line, I miss my husband, but it isn't the sex. It's really all about, oh, wait a minute, it is to the sex. Her words. At great political risk, she voted for marriage equality because she's been on her own journey involving something very personal to her, and that is her beloved daughter came out and is a lesbian. Maureen now says, by God, I want to throw that kid a wedding. Republican Representative Glenn Anderson took a journey. It was a personal and unique journey, and as they all have. He had to study the issue, and he had to satisfy himself once and for all that being gay or lesbian is not a lifestyle. That led him to realize that gay and lesbian citizens, including his own brother, should not be treated as separate but equal. His heart opened. He saw the denial of marriage for what it is, hurtful, and that it is discrimination, plain and simple. Surrounded by colleagues who voted no, he stood up and voted yes for marriage equality. Then there's Senator Kevin Ranker, Democrat from Orcas Island. When Kevin was still in school, his father came out. And as a result, Kevin completed his own personal journey early. He got a painful, personal view of discrimination. He saw the father that he loved so much rejected by even members of his own family. Kevin, voted for marriage equality. And so did Phyllis Gutierrez Kinney of Seattle, whose personal journey began and ended for her with her 2 gay sons, for whom she wants dignity and hope. She stood up and voted for marriage equality. My friends, we may, I hope not, but I'm a realist, we may be looking at a tough campaign to make sure that we remain the 7th state to give hope and dignity to our gay and lesbian sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. But you know what? If we end up in the ballot in November, we will be the first in the nation to say yes to marriage equality of the ballot. We've got great companies in Washington State, companies that are standing with us. Thanks to Microsoft and Starbucks, Google and Nike, Vulcan, Real Networks, Group Health, Concur. They say yes to marriage equality, and we ought to do business with all companies in Washington State that say yes to marriage equality. By the way, the Puget Sound Business Journal reported this week that the state is looking at $88 million. We need that money, by the way. $88 million in counting in wedding and tourism business. Cupcake Royale, get ready for those wedding cakes. Here tonight, and the people all across our great state have something special to bring to the rest of our people. We must bring to them our stories, our powerful stories. The stories have been pouring into my office. People wanting to share their story, and I shared one on Monday, but I really think it's worth repeating if I could. It was a 16-year-old girl who sent me a handwritten letter last month. She said her sexual orientation makes her life hard, and at one point she considered suicide. But she said marriage equality would make her stronger and allow her to live and to dream of the day when she would not have to get on bended knee and say, "Will you civil union me?" but would get on bended knee and say, "Will you marry me?" Or the story of the high school senior from Bothell who wrote me just this past week. She talked about how in middle school she discovered something different, apparently, from the others about herself. Something that she didn't even know what to name. This is a child who said that she later found out what it was and how she felt and why. And then she said, "I knew there would be no wedding, there would be no children, there would be no summer vacations with my family." Do I need to say that this girl today, because of what you've done, has hope? Because of what you've done, this young girl today has a bright future, and as she put it to me, let us hope that hers is a generation which will be the last to undergo these hardships and injustices. Or how about the story of the 2 gentlemen who attended the bill signing on Monday? It was jam-packed. In the ceremonial room, capacity is probably about 300. We had 500. It took a long time for people to leave, but they did. And when everybody had left, there was a couple that turned to a state employee who was about to lock the door and said, "Could I please go back in the room?" And the state employee wondered why, but said, "Sure, before I lock, I'll let you go in." And then said, "Would you please make sure that no one else comes in?" Well, the state employee is a little curious, but thank goodness allowed the 2 to go back in. They did. They went to the very spot where we signed the bill, and you know what happened. One on bended knee, will you marry me, ask for a wedding. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the story of Petey and Jane. 40 years, and they came up to me on Monday and said they're still going to wait because they want to say I do in their own home state. And we will. You will. Congratulations to you. So in the months ahead, as we are asked to look at a ballot measure, if we are, we must be ready. We can take nothing for granted. This is our time. It is the time for Washington State to proudly stand up in November and say we're the first. So I ask you, are we going to ensure that Petey and Jane and those two gentlemen in my office on Monday can marry right here in their own home state? Are we going to keep telling our everyday stories of hope and love to any and all who will listen? This is audience participation, and the answer is yes. Let me try that one more time, okay? Are we going to keep telling our stories to everybody who will listen? Are we going to make sure that our gay and lesbian young people live in a world in which they can grow up, feel good, and marry the one they love? Are we going to make sure the children of same-sex couples know that their parents are married just like anybody else in their classroom? Are we going to answer the civil rights call of our younger generation and be the first in the nation to uphold marriage equality with a public vote? Are we going to show the rest of the world that what Washington State is made of, it's made of love and respect for everybody? Yes, we are. Thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for leading the way. Thank you for making marriage equality. Thank you for what you've done for Washington State. Thank you all very much.